Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is forming a new pattern that we need to pay attention to, so I'll be talking about that in just a moment. While the price is now running into critical resistance in the short term again, while Ethereum is flashing a new signal in the short term, while Solana is currently bouncing from critical short-term support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, taking a look at the Bitcoin ETF news today, and just on Thursday, we actually saw a decent net inflow of over 213 million US dollars. And if we're looking at the breakdown, we can see relatively average inflows going into the BlackRock and Fidelity ETF of roughly around 100 million into each of those ETFs just on Thursday. But what we also saw on Thursday was actually a relatively low outflow coming out of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and as usual, we pretty much always see outflows coming out of Grayscale, but their average outflow for an average day, Grayscale usually has an outflow of around $260 million coming out of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust just in a single weekday. But once again, on Thursday, they had a relatively small outflow of only around 79 million US dollars, which once again is relatively small for Grayscale. And so due to the decent inflows into the other ETFs and that small outflow from Grayscale, we were left with a net inflow for the day of nearly $250 million, around 213 million US dollars. And as I've been saying here on the channel, if we continue to see these decent net inflows each weekday as more of a trend continuing to happen, then in that case, over the longer term, this will push the price of Bitcoin much higher because there's only so much Bitcoin to go around. So if we're seeing $200 million coming into the Bitcoin ETFs each day on average, then obviously over time, that will push the price of Bitcoin much higher if this continues. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts, looking at the weekly time frame, right now Bitcoin history is potentially repeating. Once again, as I've been saying here on the channel over the last few weeks, expect struggle around that all-time high breakout, because that's what we usually see during a bullish market. Right around the all-time high breakout level, we usually see the price of Bitcoin struggle around that level, which is exactly what is happening right now. So once again, this is very normal to see even during a bull market. But once we finally confirm a strong breakout, basically start the next leg to the upside in the larger bull market, obviously we can see what happened last time. Usually Bitcoin is extremely explosive when we officially see a strong new all-time high breakout. And so as I've been saying for a long time now on the channel, I am still very bullish when it comes to the larger trend at play. When we're looking at the larger time frames, basically zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, I'm still very bullish on the price of Bitcoin, despite what happens in the short term on smaller time frames. And so in case you're new to all of this, it is important to understand the difference between the different time frames. For example, on one time frame, like the larger time frames, I might be more bullish, or on a smaller time frame, I might be more bearish. But those two statements do not contradict each other because they're on two different time frames. So once again, during a larger bullish trend, we can see short-term pullbacks in the short term. And so if I'm bearish in the short term, that is just talking about the short term. So I still get some comments here and there saying that when I'm talking about bullish and bearish across different charts, I'm just saying we're either going to go up or down, but that is not at all what I'm saying. Once again, we need to understand the difference between the different time frames. On one time frame, I might be very bullish, and on another time frame, I might be more bearish, and those do not contradict each other because they're on different time frames. But with that being said, getting into this daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, right now we've still seen that pullback over the last couple of days, but since that pullback over the last couple of days, the DXY has basically gone sideways over the last 1 day or so. And so if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about this chart right here, then check out my last video here on the channel, because I went into more detail about this chart in that video. And once again, since yesterday, it has not really changed all that much. And if we're staying on the daily time frame, right now the price of Bitcoin is potentially forming a massive symmetrical triangle pattern, which could also potentially be a bullish pennant. But for now, if we're taking a look at this as a symmetrical triangle pattern, we can look at some simple price targets once we confirm a break either above resistance or below support. And as of right now, this line of support is sitting just below 65,000 at around 64.9k, give or take. And this line of resistance is currently sitting at around 71,000. And so at least for now, while the price of Bitcoin is in between that support and that resistance, we're looking relatively neutral. We have not yet confirmed the next major direction on the daily time frame. But once we finally confirm either a break below this support line or above this resistance line, once we confirm a break of one of those levels with candle closes either above resistance or below support, once again, that will set up the next major price target, at least based on this pattern right here. And if we're taking a look at those price targets, if we see a confirmed breakout above that line of resistance with candle closes above that level and ideally flipping that resistance into new support, then in that case, that would set up a bullish price target sitting at around 85 to 86,000. And so from the point of the breakout to that price target, we're talking about a potential 20% move in the price of Bitcoin. But on the other hand, if we see a confirmed break below that line of support with those confirmation signals that I just mentioned earlier, then in that case, that could set up a bearish price target at around $54,000. And so from that break point to that price target, we're talking about a potential 16 to 17% move to the downside if we first confirm a break below this support. But once again, it is important to understand that right now we have not yet confirmed a break of either of those levels. So right now, none of those price targets are currently active. And also, in order to invalidate this pattern, we would have to see a breakout and then a break back to the downside below the point of the breakout in order to invalidate the pattern in either case. And believe it or not, we can make money in either scenario, no matter if the price is bullish or bearish with, for example, a long position or a short position. And now, as always, this is not personal financial advice because I don't know your personal financial situation, but just an example of a trading strategy that I usually use in a breakout situation for a pattern like this. Basically, if we first confirm a breakout above resistance, then in that case, I would start to enter a long position around the point of the breakout, and the more confirmation, the bigger the long position. Personally, once again, that's not financial advice. And so essentially using that strategy, if we confirm the breakout, I'm longing the move to the upside towards that price target. But if we never confirm the breakout above resistance, I never enter a long position. And vice versa, if we confirm a break below this line of support, activating the bearish price target, the bearish scenario, then in that circumstance, once we confirm a break to the downside, then in that situation, I would perhaps enter a short position to trade a move to the downside. And once again, that is not financial advice. I'm just letting you know a potential example of a trading strategy that I usually use in a breakout situation like this, whether we're going bullish or bearish. But once again, while the price is still in between this support and resistance, as of right now, I am not yet in any new trade because we have not yet really confirmed the next direction, at least in the somewhat shorter term here. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take trades just like that over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can enter an exclusive Apple Watch giveaway just by trading crypto on Bitflex. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. And with that being said, zooming into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, and right now the price is still bouncing around between short-term support and short-term resistance. And once again, as I've already been saying over the last few days, we have this critical area of support in between around 65,000 to 66,000, and this area of resistance in between around 68 to 69,000. And in fact, over the last one day, we've seen basically a perfect rejection of that resistance and then a perfect bounce of this level of support. And then once again, we're running into this resistance again. And so at least for now, in the somewhat short term here, we're actually looking relatively neutral. As I said on the daily time frame, we're still basically consolidating inside this pattern, at least for now. And as for other levels of support and resistance, if we see a breakout above this area, then in that case, we have some important resistance at around 71,500, and above that, more resistance at around 73 to 74,000. And as for support below 65,000, we have more support down towards 61 to 62,000. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see a lot of liquidity actually sitting just above the price and just below the price, which is very interesting. Because usually in the short term, we have more liquidity either to the upside or to the downside, whereas right now it's actually looking fairly even, fairly spread out. And so this just further confirms the fact that in the short term, we're looking relatively neutral, at least for now. And in case you're wondering what those liquidation levels are, we have some liquidity to the downside sitting at around 65,000 and more liquidity at around 64.4k. And as for upside liquidity, we have liquidity starting at around 69.6k, going up towards around 70.6k approximately. And so those are the areas to pay attention to, at least in the short term on the chart, because usually the price likes to hit those liquidation levels. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, right now the price is trading right around that critical area on the chart, sitting in between 3.4k to 3.5k, but we have not yet confirmed a weekly candle close below 3.4k, and the next weekly candle close, by the way, is happening in around 2 days from now. And now if we do end up seeing a weekly candle close confirm well below 3.4k, then in that case, that could potentially signal a further correction down towards around 2.9k. But even in that short-term bearish scenario, we can still technically remain within the larger bullish trend, because obviously during a larger bullish trend, we can see pullbacks from time to time in the short term. And as for significant resistance, we still have some strong resistance at around 4.1k, and of course around the all-time high, which is sitting at about 4.9k. And if we're zooming into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, right now the price is actually bouncing from critical short-term support sitting in between around 3.2k to 3250. And we also have a potential W pattern here, a double bottom pattern, which would require a breakout above this level right here, sitting at around 3370. And if that happens, then we're likely going to return up towards this area of resistance, which is where the price should struggle at. And once again, this is sitting in between around 3460 to 3530. And above that, we also have some strong resistance right here at around 3650. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 3-hour time frame, right now the price is flashing a new signal in the short term, which is of course a bullish divergence. Because right now the price has just confirmed a lower low in the candle closes on the 3-hour time frame, while the RSI on the 3-hour time frame has just confirmed a higher low. And so this is known as a bullish divergence, and this usually plays out in the form of either a slight bullish relief, if not choppy sideways price action, as the most likely outcomes. Basically, it's telling us that we should not really be expecting a lot of bearish momentum, at least in the imminent short term, as in potentially over the next 1 to 2 days or so. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Solana, obviously over the last 1 day, we saw that confirmed break below this ascending line of support, which was sitting at around 179 approximately. And as I said in my last video, before this break to the downside, I said if we break that level, if we start breaking below around 179, then expect a move down to this green area on the chart right here, sitting in between 167 to 172, because that is the next area of support. And obviously, since my last video, we saw the break to the downside, and as soon as that happened, we saw a quick move exactly into this area that I talked about, and now we're bouncing from that area as expected, finding support in that area. And so at least for now, that is the support and resistance to pay attention to, because now we've broken below that previous line of support. That should now act as new resistance at around $180. And once again, we have this area of support that I just mentioned. And as of right now, in terms of the trend and momentum, at least in the short term, clearly we're looking more bearish than bullish. Once again, at least in the short term on the smaller time frames, because right now we're simply forming lower highs and lower lows, which is bearish price structure. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Solana or any other crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.